The media has for years portrayed them in a negative light, and I think the reason for that is because it attracts more attention.
They like to see sharks as these kind of killers from the deep, these kind of faceless machines that strike without warning and leave nothing but blood and ruin in their wake.
I think there's that fear that everyone has of being eaten alive is quite a big one.
Jaws theme's been running, and everyone's sort of man-eater.
I think people have just sort of run with this image because they don't know any better.
It's this faceless death fish that appears from nowhere, strikes without warning and leaves only blood behind it. Because they're looking for their story, they want to draw viewers. So what draws a viewer better than huge splashes, great mouths for the teeth, and they're suddenly retreating back into a sea full of blood.
South Africa is the capital of the world for great white sharks. It's all about the sharks for me. I don't care where in the world I am as long as I'm going to see some beautiful creatures. I wasn't really sure what I was to expect on this trip. With all volunteering, you never know what you're going to expect, but I'm so happy with the organisation and everything.
Marine Dynamics has really progressed as a company in the last 8 years. It's always been completely conservation driven, but it's really become a very much research-based organisation now. But really it's about getting the public involved in what we do. So you can go out there and you can observe this marine life in the bay, but then it's your choice if you would like to make a difference.
There is a lot of misunderstanding with regards to shark cage diving and per se, misunderstanding about the great white shark. So that is what we're doing every day, is changing perceptions. We have an opportunity to get the locals here to become involved in conservation. And we work with quite a few children's groups. You don't always know the impact you've had on a child. You may have had them here and you see that they got the message after cleanup, but 10 years' time, what are they doing? And we do beach cleanups with them. You can really see how, once you do something like that, how they see how important it is. You can only preserve something you love. So you've got to get them to understand what we have and then love it. But that's not an easy task when some of the people who live just 3 kilometres up the road have never been to the sea.
Humans are certainly not a part of a great white shark's diet.
And any shark expert in the world will tell you it's a killer, it's a man-eater. If you open the beaches on the 4th of July, it's like ringing the dinner bell, for Christ's sake.
Look, Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of a boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
If humans were on white sharks' diets, we would certainly know about it because we wouldn't be able to step foot in the ocean right now. We're very bony, we're not very fatty compared to the other marine mammals that they would go for. So they prefer to feed on fish. And actually it's only when they get past 3 meters or so then they start to specialize more in marine mammal. And they're certainly not man-eaters. In fact, most of the time, if it ever occurs that there's a negative interaction with a human and a white shark, it's more than likely a bite release.
We had an interesting surfer swimming around, and he was actually circled by a very large 3-meter female, and she circled him. He remained very calm, which is crucial. He put his arms and feet onto his board. She left. I think people don't actually realize half the time that they're there. The thing is, the shark does operate with the element of surprise. So if you see the fin, it's probably not planning to attack you. But if it would have come from beneath you, we wouldn't know about it.
We've seen it on numerous occasions where there's people swimming off of the beaches in Hermanus, and there's people that take these aerial photographs of these huge great whites that's just behind the break line.
It is a risk. It's like walking into the Serengeti and walking into a lion pack. Of course, but it's the environment. And it's quite arrogant of us to expect that they shouldn't be there. Like we can be there and they can't. It's their environment, not our natural environment.
Every 2 weeks we generally partake in a beach cleanup and we collect a range of items that we'll find on our local beaches. That includes fishing line, metals, plastic, glass. The importance behind it is generally that anything goes into our oceans become a hazard to our wildlife. We've been involved in a lot of entanglement, fishing line, penguins, sharks, whales, dolphins. All that going into the water creates quite a big problem, especially plastic. People generally don't think where their rubbish is going and what it's impacting on.
Humans, wherever we go, we tend to either bugger up everything or have quite a prolific effect on the species.
Myself and the team actually took, it was approximately 20,000 photos over a 5-year period, and once that data was analysed, it showed that actually the population here is far fewer than we originally anticipated. And given the fact that the species has been protected since 1991, it was a little bit of an alarming statistic.
The amount of sharks that are being fished out the ocean, I think we aren't even fully aware of how many great white sharks we're possibly losing every year.
In the water, we've had an experience out there with a shark that was entangled to the point where it was very close to her vertebrae, and if we didn't step in and do something about it, we don't know if that shark would have actually survived. A few weeks ago, they pulled a juvenile female out of the water, some fishermen up the coast here. Once you cross over the border from South Africa, there's none of these protection laws, and they finned her. It's the removal of the fins, generally the dorsal fin, pectoral fins, and sometimes the caudal fin. Most of the time the carcass is thrown back into the water, so they just take the fins. Sometimes they will take the jaws as well, or other parts that they're after, but most of it's wasted. And it's generally because of the demand is still there. So even though they're protected, you're still going to get people who will fish them for prize.
A new survey shows the waters off Australia may be the last safe habitat for some threatened species of shark. However, conservationists are worried it might become a hunting ground because of growing demand for shark fin in Asia.
There are still restaurants that offer the Chinese delicacy. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, state authorities made the first major bust under the law. 2,000 pounds of shark fins were seized. So why is this practice continuing? Part of it has to do with the high value of the shark fin, and that makes the job quite attractive to some struggling fishermen.
On Sunday, Elliot Sudal, a 24-year-old self-proclaimed shark wrangler, made plenty of waves on this beach when he jumped into the ocean and pulled out a 200-pound, 7-foot-long sand shark with his bare hands.
Wild video gone viral. See this Florida teen hitching a ride on the back of a 30-foot whale shark.
I decided that, you know what, I should maybe go try and swim with them because I might not be able to do it ever again.
That market's there, the demand's still there, so they're going to continue with that. The money is still there. It's pretty much us, humans, that are the biggest threat to the white sharks.
Sharks are completely worth conserving. In fact, if we don't conserve them properly, then it's going to impact absolutely everything else along our coastlines.
The impact from an ecological point is just too big if you lose an apex predator, and so no, you can't do anything else but conserve them.
To be quite honest, I think that a lot of people that come through today are having a mind shift towards sharks, and I think really in terms of social media we're a lot more aware now that these animals aren't as as monstrous as people think. You see a lot of people go away with a total perception change.
And it's lovely when they come back off of the boat and you see that every single person that goes out with us leaves an ambassador for the conservation of great whites. It's as if that stigma is removed the moment that you see these sharks in the wild and the moment that you have a biologist on board.
They're beautiful, graceful creatures. I think all people should come and have a look for themselves and realise exactly how non-aggressive they are, and that they do have their place in this world, in the water.
What's really incredible is that when they come off that boat, they have a completely different picture. So they say, wow, what an incredible animal, and it's not what I thought at all. It's not scary, it's beautiful. And you hear that every single day. And that is the most important thing, because everybody who walks away from here is becoming a great white shark ambassador. So Marine Dynamics, whatever other company doesn't win, the great white shark wins, ultimately.
Historically in South Africa, the name of the great white shark used to be Wit Doodsaai, white death shark. And Wilfred was instrumental in petitioning our local dictionary, which is known as the HRT, to try and change that name because of the stigma that it put and contributed to with the great white shark. And in 2005 he successfully changed that name, and it's been taken out of the Afrikaans dictionary, not known as the Groot Wit Doodsaai, it's now known as the Groot Withaai, great white shark.
I think We need to do everything we can to preserve this beautiful species and other sharks, not just the great whites.
Sharks are very much worth conserving. That's coming from someone who loves them as an animal and has always been fascinated with them, but just from a point of view of being an inhabitant of this planet.
Out there on the boats, I think it's a perfect opportunity to view the great white shark in its natural environment. You know, they're incredibly beautiful, particularly if you're underwater and you see them approaching from the cage.